Hello, good morning. Thank you, Harriet, for that introduction, and thank you, ladies, for having me, for inviting me to be one of your presenters on something that I consider to be groundbreaking and a phenomenal initiative. Um, I had This is my first web conference, first and foremost. So I'm not used to. I'm still working through the idea of actually speaking to the computer. I am mentally wrapping my mind around the fact that there are other persons listening and tuned in at this time. So forgive me if every now and again I need to look up just to just to orient myself. Okay. So today I want to talk about the importance of acting on inspired thought. Now I had the opportunity of interviewing Harriet and Elvira last Wednesday on my radio show, which is Life and Love Unleashed on RJR. Yeah. Um, I asked them to just kind of give me an idea as to what was the thought behind the name. I was very taken in by the name of the seminar, the idea of from pain to purpose. Now, when Harriet answered the question, pretty much what she was explaining to me was that she decided to use this name, this term from pain to purpose, primarily because she saw women as bearers of pain. That during our life journey, we go through a lot of pain in order to find ourselves, in order to orient ourselves in life. And I thought to myself that, yes, I think it is pertinent, you know what I mean? And I thought it was relevant. Um, and I started thinking about uh, just the work that I do with women and how resilient we are. I'm always taken aback as to as to our ability to bounce back from the life challenges, or just from the just from the spoke in the wheel, or the different things that life just tend to throw us, our ability to turn lemons into lemonade, and just how versatile we are as women. And it is seeing the world over, just our ability to bounce back and pull ourselves up from our bootstraps. But I thought a huge part of our ability to do that is um, that innate that innate thing that most women, that all of us have, but I think that women have sharpened over the years, and it is listening to our small voice, or just being so intuitive. And that is the reason I decided to focus today on just acting on inspired thought. Everything in this world that we see and consider to be great, or we consider to be phenomenal, or we consider to be innovative, came from a thought. And the deal is, my first encounter with that term, inspired thought, came when I watched The Secret. And The Secret, no, I thought was a phenomenal initiative. But I thought it put forward just some thoughts, what I would want to consider to be just great nuggets, phenomenal nuggets, if it is that we act on them, have the capacity to change our lives around, and really have us move from a place that we consider to be undesirable to a place that better align with our concept of ourselves. And so for me, the whole idea of inspired thought stayed with me, stayed with me because I believe that every the opportunity to move from this place that you consider to be undesirable. The thing that bridged that gap is that thought, that idea that comes to every one of us, especially when it is that we find ourselves in that searching mode, when we've decided that we are dissatisfied with where our life is, and there's more that we want to get out of life. There's more that we want to do for ourselves. Um, you know, to better align with the best version of ourselves that we have in our heads, yeah. And so I want to, today, just to kind of break, just to go through some of the stuff that I think, if we pay attention to, have the capacity to have us grow and expand in ways that are, exponential. Now, a thought will come to us, and I can use, I'm going to use myself as an example. I had been toying with the idea of working with women for the better part of 5 years. And I didn't do anything with it. It came to me forcefully, as most inspired thoughts usually do, you know. And before I go a little bit further, let me just kind of break down the whole idea of inspired. I heard Donna I just caught the tail end of Donna's presentation just now, but then she talked about the whole idea of being in spirit, and that is pretty much what it means to be inspired. To be inspired is to be in spirit. It's the Latin word, to be in spirit. It's from the Latin word, to be in spirit, yeah? And for me, my definition of being in spirit is your closest alignment with God, your closest alignment with your divinity, your closest alignment with source and your creator and what you consider that to be. And I think when it is that you are in spirit, when you feel inspired, it is it is God talking to you. It is God offering you direction in terms of helping you to answer that question: what is my purpose? How do I finally get to the place that I start to manifest what it is that I am supposed to, that I was sent here to do, what it is that I am supposed to become, how it is that I'm going to make my mark on humanity, how it is that I'm going to help people on their journey in life. And so whenever it is that you find yourself in spirit, whenever it is that you find yourself in this close conversation with God, I think it is time for you to act. So let me get back now to my story. So I had been toying with the idea of working with women for quite some time, and it had been resting with me. I had been working in the capacity of a life skills facilitator, and I worked for the SET Foundation at the time, and we used to conduct personal development workshops, and this was for corporate Jamaica or just for anyone who decided or felt the need to do some work on themselves, who found themselves in a rut and wasn't really certain how to navigate themselves away from this undesirable place to to a better space. You know what I mean? And so the more we worked with these persons, the more I became aware just how much women carried emotionally, the amount of baggage that we walked around with, and it had nothing to do with their status in life and who they had become over the years. We just I just noticed this inability to put things down, really to rest them in such a way that we can move on and really embrace the sweetness that life has to offer. And the more I saw it in the personal development workshops, is the more something kept just sticking me and telling me, Caleen, you really do need to tap into this. You really do need to capitalize on this. But I sat with it, and I sat with it maybe a little longer than I should have. And what ended up happening is in 2010, the NGO that I worked for, which was the SET Foundation, we lost all funding. This is when Jamaica was going through that whole decline in the economy. And for the very first time in my life, I was unemployed, and I was stumped. I didn't know what to do because, in spite of all of my connections, in spite of all of my qualifications, I couldn't get my foot in the door anywhere. I had gotten to the place now that I started to um, to to contemplate taking off some of the qualifications off of the resume. Just anything at this point, just anything, as long as it was bringing in some source of income, I was prepared to do. And so I I I was having drinks with a couple of friends of mine one night, and I we were all lamenting because here we were, very qualified women who at some point worked in corporate Jamaica and you know were making strides, and then all of a sudden found ourselves unemployed, and just busy sharing the stories and just talking about our survival mechanism, the things that we were putting in place in order to keep ourselves afloat. And I started telling them about this idea that I had and had actually started doing, but on an informal level. And so I told them, I had been toying with the idea of doing some work with women to help them come from a more empowered space in the different spheres of their lives. But being a transformational coach, I would be helping them just to take a closer look at themselves, how it is that they consider themselves, and to really ask themselves that question. whether or not the concept that they have of themselves was still serving them at this point in their lives. And then from there, to attach a sex element, and pretty much is to have women to become have women become more assertive sexually, because I find that this is an area that, even though we claim to be very liberated and 21st century in our approach and our orientation, I still find that it is an experience that we come to with quiet desperation. There's so much that we're curious about, so much that we want to explore, but still heavily dependent upon how it is that society sees us, and all of that stuff. Yeah. And so I wanted to help a woman tap into that side of herself, to find her girl again, that I felt that so many of us as Caribbean women have lost because of the hardships that we face, and that same thing that makes us, so admirable, our ability to pull ourselves up from our bootstraps. It is the same thing that I find that eats away at our feminine, that softness that is uniquely female, that I find that so many of us, especially in corporate Jamaica, have lost because we felt that we needed to become more male-like in our approach in order to climb the corporate ladder. So talking to my girlfriends about it, they said to me, Caleen, listen, I think you might very well be onto something, and you need to act on it. And I sat there, still stumped, not really certain what it is that I was going to do in order to move myself from concept to actually having this thing come to fruition. But the beauty of being unemployed is that um, you're forced now to think outside of the box, especially if you've been trying to get back into corporate without any success. I find that this is usually when we start home-based businesses. We start, as grandma would say, turn your hand and make fashion kind of a thing. You start to be a little bit more creative in your outlook. And so this is what ended up happening to me. I really started to put some thought into this thing that had been sitting with me for quite some time, and decided that I was going to move with it. However, the first thing that I encountered, and which is one of the first elements that I want to point out to you in terms of acting on an inspired thought, is moving beyond the fears, and what I refer to, or what so many other transformational coaches refer to as the internal critic. Getting to that place that you can silent that voice in your head, that voice that feeds on your fears, and that whole idea of unworthiness, that things that tell you that I'm not qualified enough, I need more degrees, I need more exposure in order to be able to do this thing, or that says to you that who do you think you are? Why are people going to listen to you? What makes you an authority on this matter? And I had to face these questions. I had to spend some time mentally working through um, this thing that had become literally a hindrance, because every day, the more I sat with the thought, every day I was finding reasons not to do it. I was, and you'd be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, the amount of times that you talk yourself out of what could potentially be that thing that has the capacity to move you into greatness, to have you become the best you, to have you finally discover your purpose. You would be surprised the amount of energy that we spend talking ourselves out of it. And then, having moved through the hurdle of yourself, which is a huge hurdle, having negotiated around, the fears, and the fears can be crippling, and the fears, if you're not careful, you can blow these fears out of proportion. They can become what was once a molehill. You can morph into mountains if you're not careful. Just sitting there and feeding yourself on all the reasons why you shouldn't do it. When I finally got to the place that the desire to do it was more pressing than my fears and my concerns, I had to negotiate the friends and the family all there, and that again is a huge hindrance on your way to to finding your purpose, and being able to manifest that. I I started talking to my friends about it, telling them, okay, this is something that I'm seriously contemplating. This is something that I seriously want to explore. How do you feel about it? And then it was getting the mixed reviews. At first, I was told that, boy, Caleen, this may very well be a good idea. However, this is Jamaica, and you know how we are as it pertains to sex. Um, it's still so very taboo. It's still so very the area is still so very new. Uh, I don't know how receptive people are going to be. You might need to spend some time thinking about how receptive people are going to be in this regard. Then it was approaching family with the idea, and working through my own inhibitions there, having to talk to my moms about it, and getting her feedback. And then after a while, i I got to the place again, and again, I believe that this was divine intervention, that the desire to do it, every day I woke up with the desire to do it, the desire to act, and not just the desire to act, but then I started to think about the steps. How do I move this from a thought um, to have it, come to fruition? How do I blow life into this dream of mine? And so I decided to change my approach. Instead of just seeking, approval from people, I decided that I was going to give myself the approval that I needed. And when just by making that decision, everything changed. Absolutely everything changed because my perspective changed. I didn't go to people almost like with my tail between my legs, seeking their approval, asking them to give me their take on this idea, and then having my decision to move forward hinge on their take or their perspective. It was now, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, and I want your opinion in terms of feedback. What is the best way? What is the best way? What is the path that I should take in order to get myself out there in this capacity? And so that's the next thing that I want to talk about in terms of acting on inspired thought. Having moved past the internal critic, having silenced the critic once and for all, and the critic inside and the critic outside, having silenced that, it's now being more forthright in terms of acting on what it is, the necessary steps that I need to employ in order to have this dream of mine turn into something, have it turn into a tangible. I feel the need to kind of, just to talk a little bit on that, in the sense that so many of us get that inspiration every day, every minute of the day. Somebody else is getting that aha moment, that light bulb is going off in their head, and they're saying, aha, this is something I can do, and it feels good, and I'm going to work with it. But many of us fail to take the necessary steps in order to come from not just passion now, but to come from to put on our business head, because passion is one thing. Passion is a good thing. And please don't get me wrong, it is a necessary thing. I think if it is that you are acting on, if you are working on your passion, then the possibility of seeing it through, and the possibility of just, things not being work anymore because you are so excited by what it is that you do, um, you know, increase exponentially. However, beyond the passion now, we need to start to put on our business cap. And so for me, that was now starting to write my thoughts down, to put my concept down on paper, and then starting to ascertain the viability of this. And so the first step for me was, I decided to pull together a focus group. And I not only spoke to the people that I wanted, as in the persons that my target market, but I spoke to people um, who had been established in business over a period of years, who were doing things similar to what it is that I was doing. But even in spite of the fact that what I was doing was new, I still was getting feedback from persons who I considered to be established. Yeah. And so I pulled together my focus group. I had a set of questions that I was asking them in terms of price, in terms of the look and the feel of this product that I was putting together, and what was the best way to break this new innovative idea into the market, a market such as ours that could be that can be so closed off to this kind of stuff, the whole idea. What I've discovered over the years of working in personal development, it is still something that I find that very few of us want to spend our money on, or our perception of personal development is so skewed. Most of us, when we think personal development, the first thing that we're thinking is, how do I improve myself? And usually that is, how do I get more degrees? How do I get more certification in order to increase my viability in the market? But we very rarely look at what needs to happen to me mentally. What is the work that I need to put into myself as an individual? How do I work and overcome the baggage? I mean, I heard, Donna making reference to just some of the thoughts that she had, around relationships that she had to, that she had to mentally do some work on to get beyond. And so it was spending time talking to corporate about the importance of working psychologically on investing in their worker and investing in the employee psychologically, having them attend workshops that speaks to their mentality. The things that we don't necessarily question, but affect our daily lives, affect the way that we relate to other persons, and pretty much that is life. Our entire life is interface with other human beings. And if it is that I have baggage, if I have unresolved issues that I'm hauling around from my childhood, that I'm hauling around from my encounters with past lovers and persons who were close to me, I have no idea how much this affects the way that I present on a daily basis, how it affects my ability to actively engage in work relationships, to engage in relationships of the heart, to engage my family in such a way that is productive and that enhance me. And so the idea of personal development is something that I push, especially as it pertains to manifesting the best version of me. It all starts in my head. I am what I think. I am what I'm constantly preoccupied with. And so my ability to move myself from the place that I consider to be undesirable to the place that I best fit my vision of myself starts first and foremost with my thoughts and what it is that I'm feeding my head, and my ability to work through the issues that were, the encounters that were challenging and painful for me. So I decided, on the basis of that, I'm going to I'm going to spend some time, just in the public eye, talking to them about the importance of that. Yeah. And so when I got my feedback, and I put together now, my brochure, I decided, okay, I have the brochure, I've written down the concept. How do I create awareness? How do I get to the place that people are going to become aware of this product? And so the idea, I had first, termed it as a sex workshop, because not only was I helping women to, to find themselves and journey into themselves to actually be able to bring forth the a more authentic expression of who they consider themselves to be, irrespective of all the outside pressure, to finally shake those things off and to embrace me and to be able to show my truth. But I was going to know, to help them to bring this, to harness this newfound power, an empowered space, to have them harness this, and channel this into their sexual expression. Yeah. And I'm not a sex therapist, so I wasn't dealing with the nuts and bolts of the sex, but from a confidence place, what am I bringing into it? How do I play a more effective role in terms of bringing the level of romance that I want, and having that manifest over and over in my love encounters. Yeah. So I decided, the idea of a sex workshop is still very new to people, especially in Jamaica. When I started telling people about it, everybody was wondering, you know, what exactly is that? What are we going to be doing? Is it an orgy kind of a deal? So in order to break through the misnomer and to bring about more clarity, I decided that I was going to conduct free trials. And I spent the better part of 2012 doing just that. I launched the business in 2011 and did nothing else. After I launched it, I was busy just collecting information in terms of how I was going to move forward, how I was going to create this awareness, how I was going to create not just awareness but the appeal. Why people should come, why women should, spend some time looking at this thing. So the best decision then coming out of the information that I had gathered was to conduct free trials. So for one entire year, that's what I did. I decided to use social media, and I was completely and totally backward as it pertains to social media. And that's the other thing that I want to talk about as well. The importance of availing yourself when it is that you have that inspired thought and you've now put on your business cap, availing yourself to the different channels, in terms of getting yourself out there. What is the best way to create awareness? So many of us have this beautiful idea, but it's pretty much just in a vacuum. Nobody knows about it except for your immediate circle, and your immediate circle can't sustain you. You know what I mean? So how do you get that out there? How do you utilize all the different mediums available to you, especially now in the 21st century with the advent of so much technology? How do you utilize that in such a way to expand on your inspired thought? Yeah. So I went to Facebook. I reached out to friends who are a whole lot more savvy than me in terms of technology. I told them, this is what I want to do. Tell me what's the best way to get it out there. Somebody put together a Facebook page for me. My business is for Vita, and so they said to me, okay, you have to have a page that is specific to this kind of thing, and you're going to capture all of the events here. You're going to take pictures. You're going to get testimonials. This is how you're going to start the business rolling. Yeah. Now, I had been in sales um, for maybe about 12 years prior. Sales, I came out of high school doing sales. It was a part of my DNA, for one of a better word. It's something that comes naturally to me. And so the beauty of inspired thought is usually it is building on a skill set that you had been honing. I say to people all the time, nothing you do in life, absolutely nothing that you do in life, is wasted. You never know whenever it is that degree that you did in drama, or this thing that you thought was so arbitrary, this training that you just kind of walked in on, or that your job, quote unquote, forced you to get done. You never know when it is that you're going to be able to utilize that to your benefit. And so I say to people all the time, when I'm giving my motivational talks, I'm saying to people, it is important to always embrace whatever opportunity life throws at you, whether or not you consider it to be an opportunity at that time. Embrace it, and embrace it wholeheartedly, because you never know, first and foremost, who it is that you're auditioning for. You never know. You never know who are the persons that God will put into your life to help to advance you, to get you closer to your life purpose and to your life dream. So it is very important for you to wholeheartedly embrace whatever experience you find yourself in, and to come from a place of just being open and readiness to learn, because again, you just never know when you're going to be able to utilize it. So my years in sales, just proved to be just helped me to launch this, it helped me to launch my business. I was able to incorporate, some of the things that I utilize to help other people's business grow, to manifest my own business, to have that come to fruition. And so, having done the free trials, I started to collect names and develop a database that I was now sending out emails to. Now, I was ensuring every time that I had one of my free trials that I was getting feedback from the ladies there, what was most impactful, what made sense to them, what resonated, and I was building on that. I was constantly utilizing this information to expand my business and to make it better. And each time that I walked away from the event, I was thinking, what did I learn? What was it that I got from this last open event? And that's what I refer to them as, open events. Yeah. What did I learn? And how can I fine tune this thing in order to um to come out now with more bang, to make more of an impact. And the beauty of it, my business started to grow by virtue of word of mouth, word of mouth. And let us not play down the importance of word of mouth and why it is important that whenever it is that you have a group of persons in your presence, that you leave the best impression. Why it is important that you impact people in a good way. Every time that um, somebody told me, Caleen, I really liked what it is that you had to say, and this came across, and the way that your easy rapport with the women, you created such a laid back uh, environment, and it was safe, and as women, it was relatively easy for me just to put down some stuff in front of strangers, for me to face some issues that I had been, some long-standing body image issues, some insecurities that I was struggling with, that I didn't even think I would be able to articulate. But because of your openness, because of your readiness to disclose, things that one would consider to be so personal, I felt that it was okay. I felt that it was safe for me to venture into this, and to actually just to say it, and the relief that I experienced by virtue of articulating this thing that I had been struggling with, that I had been carrying around mentally with me for so long. You have no idea what it is that that you were able to do for me. And I thought to myself, if I can continuously create this environment, then people will continuously talk about it. People will tell their friends about it because it was so impactful. It left such a good taste in their mouth. They walked away from the thing. They came out of curiosity, the idea of a sex workshop. What exactly are we going to be doing? This and this. I remember doing a class on fellatio. Yes, I did say fellatio. And the ladies coming in primarily just out of pure curiosity, but walking away with a wealth of information. Something that you probably didn't even think that you would need a class on, kind of a thing. And again, this was a free trial. So the idea of giving something of me, a way to free, grew my business in leaps and bounds in ways that I could not have, I could not have, I could not have seen coming. So I'm saying a lot of things to you in this conversation, back and forth. But not only are you acting on inspired thought, and this is just me kind of recapturing, what I've gone over thus far, but just putting on your business cap now, not allowing your passion to run away with you and just, working totally and completely off of passion, but being able now to harness the idea, and to break it down into into workable steps, because the idea itself seems so grand, it seems so huge and daunting. I wasn't certain, what was going to be the first move. How was I going to chip this thing down? So it is to break it down, that inspired thought that you have, that thing that you wake up in the morning with in your belly and in your heart, that's just telling you, you need to act on this, you need to move on this. But it's deciding now what is the best way to move in such a way that I don't feel overwhelmed and the tasks don't seem too daunting. So it was breaking it down in work portions. And so coming out of my focus group, then I was now doing the free trials, and then getting the feedback from the persons in the free trials. I was now able to tighten up my offering. I was able to trim off some of the stuff that people thought wasn't adding a whole lot to it. And I didn't just trim on the basis of what one person had to say. I was I was I always took you know uh, other person's, what is it, their suggestion into consideration as well, and how closely this was aligning to what it is that I had in mind, what it is that I felt was necessary to get my message across. So from the from the free trials, I was able now to get a following. Women were talking about it. They were telling their friends about it, and every time I had an event, they were calling me to find out when was going to be the next event. And when I had an event, it was to say to me that, okay, Caleen, this is what we wanted to talk about next time. We're very keen on getting some information on this and this, and I was acting on that. But then the beauty of it is, a lot of the women that came, um, to my workshop, some were involved in media, and that started, my my coming out. Then in 2013, I went to the Observer and decided, I want for them to do a feature on me, so more people would become aware of what it is that I'm offering, why it is that you should tap into this service, why it makes sense for you. And so in 2013, having gone to the Observer, then I had a barrage of interviews. Um, you know, TVJ called me up, asked me to come and talk a little bit about it. And then from there, I did all the shows, every last one of them. Everybody called me for an interview, just wanting to hear a little bit more about what it is that I had to offer, and just the relevance of my product to people today. So what am I saying in all of this? That once it is that you've made a decision, you've stepped out, you've decided to step beyond the fears, and conjure up the courage that's necessary to move beyond your personal preoccupations that have the capacity just to keep you in the ground. Then it is putting on your business cap, getting the necessary help that you need in terms of moving your idea from thought to concept, and just getting to the place that you can talk to people about it. Yeah. Having moved from there, it is, now that you've stepped out, what I always say to people is, the road always rise to meet you in ways that you could not have anticipated. If this is inspired thought, if this is tapped into your purpose some way, somehow, then please believe that the help necessary to move you from this place, to continue your trajectory to the stars, will come. And that is my testimony. I got all kinds of calls, people asking to sit with me in all kinds of different public forums, ways that would again help me to get out there, to have, to create that awareness that I was busy trying to see happen. All of that came to fruition, all because I chose to act on this thing that had been sitting with me for all this time. So I'm saying all of that to say, inspired thought is God whispering something in your ear. It is God telling you. It's God giving you direction. It is God giving you, that thing that you need, in order for you to act, in order for you to make manifest that thing that will not only benefit you, but will benefit all the other persons who come into contact with it. All of us have a gift. Every last one of us have a gift. You know what I mean? Yours might be academic. Um, some people it's just natural. I can sing. This person have, just a knack for acting. They have a knack for, they have just phenomenal people person skills. Other people spend so much time and money, trying to hone this skill that just comes to you naturally. God has a way of just kind of whispering to you and telling you what it is that you need to do in order to move yourself forward. And so I'm imploring you, especially as women, especially whenever it is that you find yourself in a down position, or even whenever it is that you might even be happy with what it is that you're doing, but then something keeps coming back to you all the time, constantly telling you that there is more. There is something else that you can do. Your contribution to humanity, to the world, is bigger than just you getting up and going to a 9 to 5 every day. I'm suggesting that you start to listen to that voice and conjure up the courage necessary in order for you to completely, step into your greatness, everything that you were supposed to be, and to know that the idea may seem minuscule, or it may seem grand to you in the first instance, but it's breaking it down into workable pieces, moving beyond the fears, getting the courage that you need in order to walk into this place, and understanding that there's so much of this journey that it's brand new, so much of it that you're discovering as you go along. But the deal is, I've oftentimes said, and I remember just talking in a presentation the other day, just saying to the group of people I was talking to, that when you turn your lights on, when you're driving, if you make the decision to go to Montego Bay and you turn your lights on and you're driving, you can only see as far as the light will shine. So that may be 150 feet or so, but you have to trust. You keep driving, and some of us at breakneck speed, we keep driving, trusting that the light is going to shine. Once we turn the corner, the light is going to show us the other 150 feet. So the deal is, where inspired thought is concerned, you don't need to figure out every single solitary thing right now. Every step of the journey doesn't necessarily need to be clear to you, and it probably won't, especially if you are a pioneer in your field. If this is the first time that anybody is doing anything like this, then chances are you don't necessarily have uh, somebody that you can talk to for direction. But it is trusting that thing inside of you, that your, what I refer to as your internal guidance system, is tapping in, becoming more attuned to you, and trusting that God gives you what it is that you need, just enough to carry you through to the next step. And that there will always be somebody. Once you are courageous enough, there will always be somebody there to pick you up whenever it is that you fall. Because the fact that it's inspired thought doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be smooth sailing from conception of thought straight through to having this thought come to fruition. Please know that there will be many bumps in the road, that there will be many valleys before you actually even start to hit the peak. And recognize that to get to the peak means that you're going to have to climb. You're going to have to, it's going to require a lot of efforting on your part in order for you to have this thing come to fruition. And you are going to feel frustrated, you are going to feel broken, you are going to feel disappointed. I remember last year I put on my first expo, and this is me running on the momentum that I had managed to gather over the last year, 2012, creating the awareness and going public in 2013, and just the buzz that was around what it is that I was doing. I decided, okay, Caleen, I'm going to put on this expo. And again, that was inspired thought. And I decided to put this expo on with nothing. I hadn't a dollar in my pocket. Just this burning desire in my heart, and the ability to talk about it. And I went and I sought sponsorship, and I got it, thank God, and decided to act on it. And I did everything. I worked like a slave trying to pull this thing off. And ladies and gentlemen, please believe me that I was so disappointed with the turnout. I had so many other competing events that day, and that was me not doing my homework, you see. But there were so many other well-established events that was happening on the day that I decided to have my expo, that I lost most of my audience, and I was disappointed in ways that I cannot even begin to explain to you. And I walked away from that expo indebted. I had people that I needed to pay, and not enough money to cover the sponsorship, and the turnout wasn't enough for me to cover all of my expenses. But I learned huge lessons, that I plan on, and that I have been utilizing in terms of the best way forward. And even though I was disheartened and I was broken, I mean, for maybe like about 2-3 months, I was out of it totally, completely, trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to find this money in order to get, get this thing, in order to get this thing, in order to sort myself out. What was I going to do? Hello? What was I going to do in order to, to pull myself out of this rut? But I learned so much. I became so much I became so much in that time, and I want to just again say that it is important to move through the all the ruts in the road. It is important to keep stepping, to keep moving forward, because that is the only thing that will ensure your success. That once you've decided to act on inspired thought, it is to keep pressing on. Perseverance and persistence is everything. It outlines, it is the difference between actually finding that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and walking away too soon. And so many of us have the inspired thought, have taken the necessary steps in terms of putting on our business cap and so on, and accessing the necessary information to make this thing viable, but give up just before we break through. We decide, we cut off too soon and end up walking away from this this thing that has the potential to change our lives in ways that we can't even imagine because of our inability to persevere. And so that is what that's what I want to say to us today more than anything else. Capitalize on the whispers that God, give you in your ear in the still of the night, the things that He's telling you to do. Capitalize on it, and in such a way uh, that you incorporate all the help that will come to you. And the road, invariably, and I say this again, the road will rise to meet you. It will. And it might take some time, but it will rise to meet you whenever it is that you've made that decision to move forward. And persevere. Stay true to the thing that you are passionate about. Keep going in spite of the bumps and the hiccups in the road. I saw this thing on Facebook the other day, and it was talking about, just you actualizing your dreams. And in your head, it's really just this straight path, but in actuality, in reality, it is, and you see this guy on a bicycle, and then he's approaching this big, this huge chasm in the road, and then there are rocks at the bottom of that chasm, and finally he managed to get up on another piece of straight road, and then he has to encounter now this huge body of water. So pretty much it's just talking about all the obstacles um, between you and you actualizing your dreams. And I'm just saying, act on inspired thought, stick to it, and you would be surprised the results that you're able to get at the end of it. I am so very grateful. I mean, in closing, I just want to say how grateful I am to be a part of this huge initiative. I think it has the potential to be phenomenal. Phenomenal. I want to say, take my hat off to the conceptualizers, Elvira Guzman and Harriet Clark. I think you're doing phenomenal, offering this platform to women to help them to, navigate themselves better in business. I think was a huge initiative. And I'm grateful, for being considered in this capacity. Thanks again. All right. Take care, guys.